Google says we're live. Here we are. It's Sam and Nick, and it is the local support meeting, and yeah, here we are. I guess what I'll do is I'll just pull up a document we can go through. Definitely on my mind is that, getting you guys, both of you, express an interest in the DevOps side of things, and that would be absolutely fantastic to get you more involved in that. Let's put the screen share on like so. Here we go, and put this up as well. Get rid of that. Always so many things. Now let's start with Nick with hat. So hatted Nick. What things are on your mind at the moment? Are there's stuff that you want to highlight that you were doing, or things that you're blocked on, or what are the important items for you at the moment?
For me at the moment, I'm kind of blocked with the Rise migrations on Rise 5.
Right.
So I'm checking on that, but I'm like starting to understand, because, for example, if something is gonna change on the Rise migrations, it's not going. It should not affect what we have in production, because the migrations are not gonna run again. So we are cool with that. But our schema is changing, and some tests are failing. So I want to check better what I'm doing.
Yeah, we
so
can.
That is why I pushed my pull request with the latest changes that I think that are relevant, because I didn't push the ones with the changes on migrations. That is something that I'm checking now. So
yeah. Well, let's definitely have a look at that together later on. Is there anything else on your mind at the moment?
Let me see. Oh, I did 2 pull requests. One is regarding the I think that I removed all the specs of the views, because it was based on an issue, and I don't know if that is okay or not. I don't know. It wasn't a task, so I just did it, but I don't know. Yeah, that is all for me.
Okay. Oh, the other pull request. Okay. Yeah. So we can look at all these things. Other Nick. I mean, I guess we've got. I mean, it's American Nick and Argentinian Nick. It's sort of the other way that we can. I assume I'm not.
I don't want to be called American Nick.
No. Okay. Should we call you? What can we do? It's like we could call you like UTC +2 and UTC -5. Would that be? Or you're are you -8? Are you -8 over there?
Yeah, I'm -8.
Okay, there we go. So
you can call me Nicholas or Nick. It don't matter.
Yeah. Yes. We just. I guess if we get your surnames, like
Sebastian.
So your surname for Nick, who's in UTC +2, is Nick S, and then Nick, who's in UTC -8. What's your surname letter initial?
S.
Oh no. Okay. We'll keep working on that. So how are things? Are you blocked on anything? Is there anything that you need help and support with, Nick?
No, I'm not blocked on anything right now. I haven't really had time to work on much in the last week. So
no problem. Yeah.
Not blocked on anything, but I do have a question, because I would like to work on this issue that I don't know who, but someone was working on it, and it seemed that he kind of dropped off from it. And
Yep. And that's a social media one.
Yeah, that one right there.
Yeah.
So I was wondering though. Yes, I think that might be something I could work on. I think it's with my skill set. But I'm curious as to like what type of events does the client want posted to the social media site? Because it seems like that isn't really clear on what events should be posting.
Yeah, no, that we can definitely talk about that. Yes, and then so my main item is DevOps. For these meetings, if there are stories to get voted on, we can do that. But I think we've got enough in the list there. What I would love to start with is just to review this DevOps thing, because I've given you both access to the Heroku development server.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I have been guilty of using the term DevOps just to refer to the fact that I'm a developer who does operations. But I think that the original concept of DevOps was that all developers should be involved in seeing their code kind of all the way into production. And so, like, since you're both interested in that, like, I'd love to get both of you as involved as we can in that. In particular, because as we look at different sorts of upgrades and so on, then we understanding the whole sort of production, the flow to production, and making sure that things work in production is kind of critical. So ultimately, perhaps we can get you access to all areas. Oh, I've gone to the wrong one, but I'll just show you what's going on. And some of this, I'll just take a layer off. It's hot. What happens? Cup of coffee, meeting. You have to take my jumper off. Right. So we've got this pipeline, which you can see here from these 3 servers, which I think is more complex than some have in production. I mean, there are some paid companies that have less complex setups. The reason I like having the 3 servers is that if we have a problem on production, something gets through, which does happen. Because we have the staging server available, we can always try and have that. We can force the staging server to exactly the same code base and copy over the database and basically experiment with fixing the problem in staging as a rather than experimenting with production. Like, we can roll production back to a previous item that it worked, and then we can do that. Whereas if we only had staging, we didn't have the develop thing, like in those emergency situations, we'd be blocking people's use of the develop server for the latest integration of their components and so on. So really the idea is that we've got that sort of fallback step. Go on.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, okay.
No, cool. Yeah, so what I've done since we had the last... So Nick in Germany did this big upgrade for us, which all seems to be working on develop, I believe. So we're in develop. And what I'm doing at the moment to save the client money is I'm tending to turn these off when they're not being used. It's on at the moment, but we've got that there, and I've set it up so that we've got the develop and staging are just going to these subdomains here. So Nick in Germany, you're like, you also had all these changes related to the mobile thing and so on. You're happy with how everything's running on develop on Heroku? It looks okay to you? Did you get a chance to check?
Yep.
Those things? So fantastic. So given that we've got that basic pass there, and the develop, the data on develop will tend to be a little further out of date and less realistic. So I'll just maybe show you the process that I go through to get stuff from develop onto staging. So what we will want to do, well, I guess actually I don't need to turn it on immediately, but so what I would be doing, and ultimately, if you want to get involved in the release process, you could be doing as well, is I'll make sure that I've checked out the latest develop code locally, which I think I've got. I've got some hanging caching in there that I'll just reset, because that's a whole nother kettle of fish to look into at some point. But so we'll get rid of that, and then I'm going to check out the staging code. So we have a branch corresponding to each of these 3. So production corresponds to master, staging to staging, develop to develop. So I'll now check out staging. and then I'll do git rebase develop, like so. So now, and then I'll do git push origin staging, like so. And then, so if we just do git hist head there, we can see that what we've got is all of the most recent fixes. So we've got your latest fix there. It's NSV. You've got 3 names there. So we could refer to you by your, we could call you NSV, couldn't we?
Yep.
It would be like a three-letter acronym, very popular in computer science. I didn't mean to say there. Anyway, so we've got your latest thing that fixes that one deprecation warning. Yeah, the new forms there. We've got, interestingly, yeah. There's the upgrade to the latest Ruby gems and so on. We've got something from Brent and so on and so forth. So we have this process that I've maybe talked about before, where when everybody does a pull request, even though there was like 10 commits in that pull request, they get squashed down into one. And so we end up with this relatively clean and straightforward history, apart from when I do silly things like updating things via the Git in the UI interface on the web. So that's going to go out to staging. Now, that will need to run through Travis before it gets deployed. So if we look at Travis,
okay.
Now, the Travis CI will, as a result of the new, and here it is, the new code having been pushed to staging, it will check out all of that code, and it will then run through, all the stuff that we've got described in the travis.yaml. It's busy here on a fresh box installing all of our gems, and it will then only be deployed to the staging server once that has finished. So we'll sort of leave that in the background, and in fact, when that's done, I would then go ahead and start up the staging server and have a look at it. If we have more money, we'd just leave it running all the time. And so that the process there of going from develop to staging, we can then do manual checks on staging. And ideally, what one does is kind of look through, right, this is the set of changes that we're expecting to come out, and check that the new functionality is in place in the way that we expect with the latest data. When we're upgrading, I mean, this is upgrading a version of Ruby and Rails and various gems. So in principle, you could argue we need to manually check everything on the system, but realistically, we will lean on our tests to say, okay, well, if the tests are passing, and if it, like, for a quick visual manual check, things seem to be working, then we'll go ahead and push it out into production.
Okay.
Through which would then be the same mechanism that I just did here from develop to staging, but from staging to production, or the master branch. And in fact, the two of you, you don't need the access to the different Heroku parts of the pipeline in order to do the deploys and so on. I think I can maybe make you admins within the local support team, but having access to the Heroku everything here is very useful for debugging it when it kind of goes wrong, as it sometimes does. But yeah, that makes me just think that maybe what I'll do is add both of you, so we can find the teams and see that we've got both of you in the local support team. Let's have a look what we've got going on here. We've got, it's why is it? It's going out to discussions, which is like the least useful thing. But yeah, let's add you both in here. And so, is it Nisevi? That's you there, isn't it? So are you already in there? And Nick, what's your GitHub? Did you tell me that before? I'm sorry.
Nick Shimmick. SCH. Yeah. Oh,
like
sorry. SCHIMEK.
Oh yeah. And so actually there, I think we need to go over here and do add it. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. So yeah, so you should find yourself, well, if you now accept the request, you should now find yourself with a bit more access and power and stuff generally. Yeah. Of course, with great power comes great responsibility. So do be careful, particularly in terms of pushing things out to production. But maybe what the thing to do is for future runs, we'll particularly if you've got a PR going through, maybe in a future session like this or other time or after a scrum, I can be around and you can do a deployment for one of the stages and gradually build confidence and we'll check. Yeah, cool. So yeah, I think there's absolutely what I should do as well as go ahead and give you both access to the staging server as well. I'll do that and I'll just put a note to myself to do that. So you can look there. I guess we will move on to other thing. Put a note there. This is for LocalSupport admin. Give. I'm always just literally afraid that I'm going to forget to do things. So give Nick's admin on Heroku staging. Ultimately, in the future, Heroku is, quite expensive. We may try and move all of this over to Azure Doku, where we have some free credits from Microsoft and Azure. But that's another story that won't be for a while. So if we come back to, the more that I can get you involved in seeing the features and the things that you worked on, all the way to production, the happier I am, and I think that the greater it is for all of us and all of our learning. It's very pleasing to see the upgraded Ruby and Rails all running on the develop server. Like the develop server all looks fine. I'm, as from a long history working with computers, but completely paranoid and suspicious. There are certain jobs that run overnight and other bits and pieces, and there's always the possibility that some aspect of it all won't be covered by our tests and that there will be something that will go wrong. But yeah, we'll get this out into production and see. When that comes around to then, so moving to Rails 5, which is like an even bigger jump, I guess I'm partly maybe we'll do that after we know for sure that the jump to Ruby and Rails that we've already done is without problem, although it's looking good. And actually, I think Nick, NSV, if you've got enthusiasm for doing Rails 5, then I'm like, yay, that's wonderful. That's a huge, I think I've been, what's the word? I've just been too scared of, doing too many upgrades. But
yeah,
you know what I mean. I'm also, we might vote on actually. We'll talk about more. We'll come to that at the end after we've checked in on everybody's individual things. Is this idea of putting Dependabot? So I'm actually using that on website 1, and I'm kind of getting on top of it, and I'm kind of starting to think actually, it really helps with the motivation to keep things up to date. So, but yeah, so the Rails 5 migrations. Let's just have a quick look at the pull request that you've got in already, and I think that's what's wonderful there at NSV. The way that it sounds very informal though, NSV. I'm not sure, isn't it? Okay, you're like,
I'm okay with that.
I'm trying to find the LocalSupport repo again. It's absolutely wonderful to open pull requests. You're really getting into the swing of. I'm just thinking about. You've also very helpfully for me. You were like, last time I missed the work in progress. So now you're like, I'm not going to miss it this time. So that's fantastic. Let's have a look at those before we go on to the other pull requests. Yeah, and so we've got here, this is right, we're onto the latest version of Rails. Fantastic. And that's, had some other knock-on changes about bits and pieces that we need, including, looks like the bleeding edge Capybara WebKit. And there's certain names that have gone on that are different slightly. That all seems fine. Yeah, so there's no changes to migrations here. Were you saying
no, not there? I can share my screen if you want, because I didn't want to push my changes with migrations, because I say, okay, if I screw up, I don't want to share. I don't want to share my my
no,
my things.
Yeah. So please do share your screen. I mean, I guess, let's hear more about share screen, let's hear more about those things. This pull request as it is obviously makes some changes. Is it incomplete because it doesn't have those changes to the migrations, or?
Yeah, it is incomplete, and some tests that are failing.
Okay, yeah, that's what I didn't. If we look at, okay, right, yeah, let's have a quick look at the issues that are going on there. But so you've got some more code locally, which is changes to the migrations that you think. So you're showing us the kind of errors that you're getting locally.
For example, here, if I try to run now, let me see. Oh, sorry. The app is working,
yep, yes.
but the tests are failing. So.
Right, and I can see here in the Travis environment that the migrations that are run by default are failing because, there's a so there's a new requirement in Rails 5 that
you need to specify the version.
Has changed. So
now you will see that I have to add here and it starts with the first migration, and it says that I need to add the version of the migration.
Sure.
So, for example, I will do this.
Yeah. And then yes, I think exactly as you were saying, that then shouldn't have any impact on production because basically we won't be running those migrations on production when we once we've changed to Rails 5 and then we make new migrations, then there'll be so that seems fine. And so I guess you haven't made all the changes that are needed locally. You're at the moment you're just thinking about what they are and working through them. Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Let me show you. I think yes. Those are all the migrations that we have. That one, no. Yep. No.
Okay, so that's I'm reassured there that this is, there's a good pathway there that we can move to Rails 5, and if we can get to Rails 5, that's great. It sounds like you've got it under control, and I guess once you've got it working locally, you'll just push to that branch, and we'll see how the CI handles it. Is there anything else that you want to share with us about the Rails 5, or anything else you think that's blocking you?
When I update that, it also updates my schema. And I didn't know if that is okay or not.
Well, I think that's fine in as much as we were talking about before with other Nick, is that the schema is an auto-generated file, so it should be the case that, I mean, it's arguably it doesn't even need to be checked into Git because it can be generated automatically at any time. I think it may be needed. I don't think you should have any fear about the schema changing. I mean, I might be missing some kind of potential knock-on thing there, but I think that should be fine.
Hey, cool. Well, yeah. So my next change is going to be that one. I'm going to push all my. I'm here or no? Yeah. Yep. I'm going to push all my changes to the migrations. We'll have them there.
Fantastic. Yes. No, I think that is great. And of course, when you're pushing to a branch, the other thing, actually, both of you can, now that I've given you access, you can push to branches directly on the Agile Ventures local support repo. You don't have to be doing it from your forks if you don't want to, but whatever is
okay. Yeah.
Whatever is more convenient for you. I end up just pushing the branches directly to the the Agile Ventures local support repo. But there's never. I don't think you're ever going to have any negative side effects of pushing stuff to a branch, other than develop, staging, and master, which is sort of protected anyway. So even if it's like random, half fixed, this, that, and the other, things on branches, they're completely isolated from each other, so it's no
Okay.
problem there. So what we could do then is, well, so let's interleave here and maybe jump forward to something for UTC-8, Nick. Is that, yeah, so you were interested in this pull request, and what we'll maybe do with the remaining time is we'll maybe finish up, and then make sure that we've looked through and sorted out all of the other pull requests for NSV. Yeah, so this was a request from the client. I think from a while ago. I think that the client would, love to have more traffic to the site. I think that they would love that, for example, when somebody added a new organization to the site, that would be, would go out to social media. That when somebody added a new volunteer opportunity, I mean, those are the two events really that where some individual is sharing something with the rest of the community. So yeah, I mean, and of course, start with the simplest thing is just organization. I think that the challenge that we have is that people are there's not that many people adding new organizations, adding new volunteers, and then new things are coming in through kind of automated feeds. So we get new volunteer information coming in, and we could be tweeting that. But we'd need to be careful about, for example, if there are suddenly 30 new things, rather than doing 30 tweets about it, we'd probably, post a link to, here are the latest opportunities in Harrow. It needs
on a day, every day, there's one tweet.
I think that might make more sense. It may even be the way to go is to kind of have it run as a job rather than in response to, activity in the site. I've been looking in various other projects about automated Twitter feeds, and when you hook, and we used to have it in website 1, when you hook up a Twitter feed to the activity that people are doing, you then have this very bursty thing where there's suddenly like 10 or 15 tweets, all with very, very similar content, which I think from the human users looking at the Twitter feeds, it's kind of like, whoa, what's all this? Now with the so we had one individual start working on this, but then has not been able to continue putting in the time. So this is the kind of thing absolutely fantastic to get cleared up and moved on. The thing that ironically that they got, or unfortunately that they got stuck on, was this how to use the webmock, the caching, the VCR in order to support the testing for it. But so you can see me giving them references to the different ways in which we've handled that. And so yeah, completing the feature would involve making sure that the appropriate tests are in place and that they are that it's the testing is in place and that all is working sensibly with the caching and this, that, and the other. Secondarily, it's like actually also about the design of the thing. I'm not sure what the existing developer did in terms of, I mean, they were adding those gems to allow this and then, allow for the posting of it. I don't know if I guess they didn't hook it into any particular events. They were just trying to test it, right? To test that the Twitter interface was working, which is kind of well, like if the Twitter API is making use of the Twitter REST client, we shouldn't necessarily need to test that. We should, it should have its own tests that it's working. I mean, I guess what we've done is we've written a wrapper here over the Twitter REST client so that we can talk to it in the language that we want and give it default this, that, and the other. I guess there's and I could talk for a long time about this, but maybe might not want me to. In terms of acceptance testing, like where we kind of like how deep we go. Like ideally, the acceptance test, is a really, really, really realistic test that tests from the activity of the user all the way through to, potentially hitting some network endpoint where we stub or we cache that and play back what the results are. And those can be really sort of tricky with the different caches and so on. Nick, are you comfortable with Puffing Billy? Well, Puffing Billy not so important here, but VCR, the gem?
Not at all.
Right.
But it's something I can read up on and perhaps take. I hope.
Yeah. It's certainly a good thing to know about, and it's independently of this issue. We do use it extensively throughout the system, and so a good understanding of it is invaluable. And then the bigger meta question for me is, how do we make it easier for people to understand what's going on there? I've been kind of asking the VCR people about, what's there we go, helping new contributors to understand it, but no one's responded to me yet. I think it's but we can, maybe the thing to do there is you could read up on it. I think it would be great to have this feature such that maybe as part of we've got an existing process that pulls in the data, the new volunteering opportunities. And that's the thing that it's sensible to tweet about rather than the organizations, I think. If we go and look at the local support code base, which I might have to hand. Come on, local support code base. That we also manage through Heroku. We have daily jobs that run. I believe I've got, if we look at resources, maybe I haven't got them set up on develop, but if we look at on staging, let's go back to RubyMine. I always want new projects in new windows. I wish I could just go away. Probably need to upgrade to the latest version of RubyMine. But if we look at the resources here, why am I not seeing? That's strange. Do I only have it set up on production? I would be surprised about that. Am I just looking in the wrong place? There's like a Heroku scheduler system, which basically allows you to run tasks either once an hour. We've got it on production here.
Okay.
I thought I had it set up on staging, but yeah. So you see that we've got Heroku Scheduler, which is a free plugin in Heroku, and that then runs these rake tasks. So we have volunteer opportunities coming in from these two third-party sites. Let's do it and reach skills. And so you can, if you're looking in the code base, you can kind of follow through from, if we look at lib tasks, you can see that there is like import do it and input reach skills. And the reach skills is really sort of a clone of do it, but just for the different endpoints. So you can see here that we have a rake task that will request from do it all of the volunteer opportunities within 3 miles of the like center of the Harrow, the borough, that this is all for. And so then we've got these, now this here, I'm in the services directory. We've got app, services, import do it, volunteer opportunities here. And so then we've got a service which is sort of set up with all of this dependency injection stuff, so that it can be tested easily, which then goes and grabs from the API endpoint all of the volunteer opportunities. And then what it does here is it actually goes through, does it do it in here? We actually delete all of the existing ones and sort of recreate them each day so that old opportunities that have been removed from the remote site don't hang around. Yeah, you can see here, it's there on line 26. Yes. Yeah, so we delete all of the do it ones, and then we subsequently go through and, you know, we grab the JSON data, which might be over multiple pages of JSON data, process that, and then for each item in there, we end up recreating those incoming elements. And so conceivably, what one would like to do if we're talking about tweeting about, the latest ones are in, it could be actually as simple as saying, I was sort of first thinking, well, we want to include like a list of which are the new ones that are really new. But in the first instance, it could just be a daily tweet that goes out that says, like once this has completed, we've got the run operation. Like when this finishes, we could just, tweet here and say, new do-it opportunities in How Community Network. Check them out here with a link to the volunteers page, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice if we could separate it though and actually distinguish between the old opportunities and new opportunities.
Yes.
Because if we're sending out a daily tweet and people check it and it's the same as yesterday, they'll eventually start ignoring it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. What would be nice would be to know, like, okay, how many new ones were there today? Like, I would almost be tempted to like work on getting it set up to do just a standardized daily tweet, because I don't know that we even have a Twitter account that we would be posting it to. So it's kind of, it's a single chunk of work, I would say, to get it so that it tweets there and get the acceptance and unit tests all set up correctly. But I agree. What would be? This is kind of a little bit of a hack. What would be nice, because I think these things have unique IDs, is that rather than necessarily, well, it's difficult, isn't it? Rather than deleting all of them, what we should, and we could potentially modify this task so that what it did was that it looked like, as it goes through processing each of these, that it looks up the existing one, and if there's anything that needs updating, that's fine. And then what we could be counting here, like how many are existing ones and how many are new, and then like we could be setting the like we may need to distinguish the different sort of update that, but basically we could then at the end of the process here do a query which is like delete all do it ops that weren't updated today. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Personally, I would rather change this code and get it set up so that it's only adding new volunteer opportunities, and then if there are volunteer opportunities, then tweet it out.
Yeah. Well, I think that then.
But if you want me to go the other, I mean, if you.
Well, it's sort of about what you're more interested in. I guess what I'm always keen to do is to break the tasks down so that we don't take on too much of one thing. So, like, if you're describing that thing of having it so that we kind of are effectively able to know how many new volunteer apps are coming in each time, that's a refactoring, and it's a feature by itself. Do you know what I mean? Like separate from the Twitter thing. So it would be like, and that would be, I think, a fair amount of work to do. So I wouldn't say it's a question of one or the other, but it's I think, yeah, if you're keen to get to that point where it can tweet like only the new ones, for example, then probably we could break down that task into, okay, let's do a refactoring that allows that information to be generated.
Right.
And then completely separately, we would look at the Twitter thing. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
I would be very excited for you to be looking through this code and considering how to, improve it, make it better, and also, allow it to perhaps increase its subtlety so that it can get more information. There's another, that if you are going to do that, and that, you have my full backing for that.
I guess what I was saying is I would rather do that first before working on the tweet.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Okay.
Yeah, you have my complete agreement there. I'll just mention there's one other wrinkle in this that I'm not immediately seeing where it is in here, but we also now have the functionality so that when somebody creates a volunteer opportunity on the site itself, it can be submitted to the third party one as well. So we have this process whereby things can be created locally and then also be pulled back in. But when I look at this code, I don't see anything here that's excluding those. So I think we've got oh yeah, we've got service here. We've got a so this post to do it thing. I'm not sure. So this allow like if somebody if somebody creates a new opportunity through this interface and selects that it should be submitted to the third-party service as well, then that's another wrinkle that makes it more complicated. But I wonder if we just don't store it locally anymore, if it's being sent. Yeah. So I was thinking that might be kind of a gotcha that would make the code all more complicated, but I'm not seeing it in here. Okay. So perhaps that's just my imagination, and it's as simple as it is. Oh, I guess. Oh no, it's here. Sorry. Can you see this?
Yeah.
So it's skipping, re-adding, or it's skipping adding things that are pulled from the third-party service, where they're the ones that we created.
Okay.
Which is there's a big discussion about whether that's the right way to do it, but anyway, so that's something to watch out for if you're doing refactoring there. But okay. Cool. Yeah. So any other questions about this then?
So should I add a chore to do the refactoring on the pivotal tracker? And
yeah, and we could get like a vote going on that. Yeah. Okay. Yes. I mean, I almost wonder is it there a feature where we're that information is being logged somehow? It's actually, I think, information that the client would be interested in. But yeah, feel free to just to put it as a chore. I shouldn't delay us on those things. So yeah, if you can do that in the, I mean, I have multiple monitors where I would do things. If you can do that in the background, then I'll make sure we get an async vote started on it, or you can start an async vote yourself. Okay. Let's use the remaining time to just have a quick look at the other pull requests that some of which that are outstanding from NSV. So yes. So I mean, this removing all view specs, we can just go ahead and do. I'm pretty convinced that the we don't get a lot of value from view specs, and that's really they're just too tight. They're just too tight, and that what we need is lots of good Cucumber acceptance tests. So this one,
yeah, that was what I read in the issue. Yeah.
Yeah. So and you've bitten the bullet for me, which is fantastic. I noticed that we've got some conflicts now.
Yep.
Where that will need to be resolved using the command line. So maybe feel free to do that, or if you want to move on, I will try and get to that when I can. Okay. And then you've got another one here relating to a code climate.
Yeah, that is a little one.
No, okay. Yeah, that seems, I guess, superficially odd, because the values of 0 should not have coordinates specified.
Yep.
That seems like an odd one, because it would seem to me that that's like a style thing, right?
Like a style thing, yeah.
And I mean, I think it's like if at some point you then choose to adjust the layout, and I was going to make it 5, it just means that I've got to add the PX in later, and there's room for error doing that. I don't know. Do you feel strongly either way about the actual style suggestion itself, that it's much better to have 0 without units, or you were just like finding it and thinking, let's do it?
I was thinking, let's do it.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think then let's do it. If that improves our co-climate score, it's not worth bike shedding about. So we'll merge that in. Cool. Yeah. All right. That's great. So yeah. So then I think we can vote on the dependable thing. What we might do is in the background, hopefully, staging would have deployed. We'll see. So here it is running while we were doing everything else. Here it is running all of the tests, and then annoyingly taking a long time to get to the bottom. Oh, what's happened there? I'm on local support. Let's have a look. Build. It's on develop. So it started off a new build there, but we can look at the build history. And yeah, also there. Look, staging that passed. And can I jump to the bottom? Scroll to the end of the log. I think that it should have, assuming that's passed, that should also have deployed. Do I get to check? There's the local support notify channel, which you may or may not be in, which gives us notifications on all that kind of stuff. Yeah, telling me that the build has passed. I guess it hasn't told me whether it deploys or not. Semaphore tells me whether these things deployed. We can go and look at
here. LocalSupport notify. Yeah.
We can go and look at the staging instance, and we can look at the activity, and we can check here. Yeah, so it looks like it did deploy. So then we can go to staging and see what that latest, is it Ruby 2.4.1 Rails? Now here, I need to turn on the staging settings, like so. Also, since I'm not immediately using develop, and the change that we just deployed was like well, I guess we should try and check that later. I'll leave that on for the moment. What I'd like is some kind of automated process to switch them off if I haven't looked at them for a while. But anyway, okay. So yeah, and then with here. So that's back up. We'll see how that is. But yeah, let's have a quick look at the board. Yeah, I was slightly two minds about Dependabot, because I guess there's going to be a big surge of new PRs as soon as we add it, but and it's then I sort of worry, like, oh, is it going to be that I spend all my time playing around with just upgrading gems when I should be spending them on features or doing some other stuff? But I'll put that. Are you both clear what Dependabot does?
Yeah, it makes like a pull request with the gem upgrade, right?
With the gem, yeah, it puts in a pull request for changing the. It basically reviews all the gems that you have, and if it sees that there's a newer version of the gem, then it makes that change. It runs bundle exec and it submits the pull request. And yeah, so we've had that running at 1, and it kind of drowned out all of the human pull requests. I used to have notifications in the website 1 channel about pull requests. I turned them off because of all of them. I then did a big kind of working through and merging in all the ones that I could. The ones here that are I got it down to 1 page. It used to be like 3 pages of pull requests, so I got it down to 1 page of pull requests. And the ones that we have here outstanding are these red X's are ones where it really does seem to there's the gem upgrade is not smooth. There's actually something that we need to change in our code in order to make it work. So I mean, these are all potentially low-hanging fruit for. I mean, some of them more complex. Like this one's quite complex. So if we do add this to local support, it's going to make the pull request page much more busy. But if you're excited about it, Nick in UTC -8, any questions or thoughts about Dependabot?
Not at the time.
Yeah.
No.
Do you want to? Should you want to vote on it?
I think I vote.
I think NSV you did, and I have, and then
Okay, yeah, I'll vote on it.
It's it'd be something to sort of try and see. I worry if it's kind of like busy work that distracts us, or actually if this is the way to really keep up to date. I mean, I guess what it might make sense to do is to essentially, like, the Dependabot hasn't suggested to us about moving to Rails 5. I wonder if it does or doesn't. It might be a sensible thing for us to wait until you've finished your Rails 5 migration here, NSV,
Okay.
and then add it afterwards. But yeah, if you do want to vote on it, Nick in UTC -8, then you can do so in the local support channel there. But yeah, maybe we don't have to spend any more time chatting about that right now. I guess the only other thing that we would maybe do before finishing up is voting on this new feature that you've proposed, or sure that you've proposed there, and is in the icebox there from you, Nick. So yeah, and just to feel free to start votes on things at any time. Obviously, the meeting when we're all together is a good time, but we can just do voter. This is refactor. This is called import do it. I mean, there's also import reach skills as well.
Right.
Import do it to count how many new volops are coming in. The other concern that we have is that some of the volunteer opportunities coming in, for one reason or another, don't have latitude and longitude with them, and maybe from outside the area. So that's another wrinkle to consider. But yeah, we could. Any questions? Well, from NSV is very happy with that one. I'll put my vote in as well. And yeah, Nick in UTC +8, if you just click whichever one you have there. My general rule of thumb is, we don't press reveal until we have at least 3 votes, and then we can do the reveal. And we could even leave it then if we wanted to get input from others, but since we've had the big discussion here, and we're unanimously agreed on medium, so that's all simple, and we can pop that into medium. And yes, you can feel free to start that one, Nick. But yes, the one of the things I'd be sort of looking for with it is sort of experimenting with the API and trying to work out what's going on. Anyway, I'll leave it in your hands. I'll stop talking. I'm just chatty.
It's okay. You can continue.
Yeah, so I think that's about the size of things. Then was there? I mean, yeah, I think we've all got things to work on. I guess the main one I'm working on is just continuing the DevOps. Yeah, and I need to pair with and trying to support Stella on. She's doing the events emailing system, and there's Lian Zong who's sort of stuck on this searching volunteer ops thing. So I think rather than taking on new tasks, I'll carry on trying to help people make progress. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have a question. So when you reveal, it reveals for everyone?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the idea is sort of planning poker, and the idea is, as you may know, that if we just all were talking about the thing and how difficult we thought it was, if one person says, "Oh, I think it's going to be really hard," then that may influence people, and you may not pull out differences in opinion. And so it's sort of the whole point of it is to sort of provide a mechanism that allows people's assumptions to be exposed independent, and not just have kind of a group think where everybody agrees something is simple or hard, and sort of promotes discussion and debate. So.
Yeah.
And we've got a third on that one, so we could do a reveal there, and yeah, so there we've got some debate there.
Okay.
And go on.
I thought that it was yeah, I thought that it was gonna be simple because it's just we only need to add the gem, and I think that is a little configuration in GitHub or something like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is actually we just press a button and it's on. There's no change to our code base.
Yeah.
It's I guess I said medium just because I'm thinking, oh, I'll need to potentially like change configuration in Slack, and then there's also it's clearly it's simple to do. I guess I don't know about you, Nick, in UTC -8, but my medium was kind of like thinking about the fallout of it.
Yeah, I was thinking there might be unforeseen wrinkles as well, so that's why I went with medium. Yeah, I mean, I agree. It could very well be simple to do, but there might be other things that we weren't counting on that change, and so it turns medium.
I don't think you could make the arguments either way. Shall we pop it in as medium NSV?
Yeah,
and
sure.
I mean, I think if you do, you're doing amazing work with upgrading these gems, and if you do complete the Rails 5 and get us onto, it might actually turn out that it is simple because you'll have upgraded lots of stuff for us already. So
okay.
Yeah, it's yeah, we will wait and see. Cool. Well, I've got to go and do the other Scrum now,
Okay,
which you're of course both welcome to attend if you wanted more, but you're probably all good. But yeah, any Scrum that you're free, any time on Slack, just reach out as you've been doing. And thanks so much for your help and support.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye for now.
Bye bye.